Now, this is where your graphs and all that will come in from this section onwards. Also under situation analysis. And this is where whenever you put a graph, please make sure you put a comment somewhere, either at the bottom of the slide of the chart or on the left-hand side, right-hand side, whatever. Okay, put a commentary and state, what does this show? What does this mean? Very important, what does this mean? So if I have, for example, this pie chart here, it says that, okay, maybe I should not interpret this. I want to ask you, Fiona, how would you make a story of what you see in this pie chart?
So from here, the majority of patients are from the northern side, right? And then followed by central, south, east Malaysia. EC is what?
EC, East Coast.
Oh, East Coast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And East Malaysia, okay. So this whole thing represents like the total number of patients, and then it's separated into different region in Malaysia. Right.
All right. And so you are saying, okay, so maybe that there are some numbers here. So this one, when I put the cursor over it, it shows that 55% of
patients,
these people come from
the northern side.
North. Wow, this must be fantastic, huh? I'm sure none of your graphs will ever show this, that the bulk of your your numbers are coming from the north. Okay, so you will have to make some commentary. Why is that?
Okay.
Yeah, so you got to put the story there. Why is it 55% is coming from the north? When normally what we see is 55% is coming from central area, right? Yeah, so this is a bit weird, It's the other way around. All right. So yeah, good, Fiona. Good start with the story. Siu Wei, is Fiona correct when she says that 55% of the patients are coming from the north?
55% of the patients are coming from the north. Based on the graph, I think so.
Okay. Enki, what do you think? Is Fiona and Siu Wei correct?
This one is a number of patients, right? So if let's say the cost is same, then should be correct.
If what?
If let's say the cost is same, I mean the contribution in terms of the sales number and the patient number might be a bit different.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. Serena, what do you think? Are all three of them right, that the bulk of the patients are coming from the north? Is their interpretation correct?
If it's 55%, it's not like equal share. So I think it's quite correct. Unless it's like there are some movements of patients from the north to the central, and which we don't know about. So there's some caveats that we need to consider.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Serena. Doreen, what about you? What do you think?
I think they already mentioned all the answers, which is similar to what I think. So
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So now I'm going to challenge all of you. Since all of you agreed with what Fiona said, I just want to ask you, how do you know this is patients, and not doctors?
Because you wrote there customer, consumer, or patient.
So maybe it's not patients, maybe it's psychiatrists, Who knows? Yeah. So anyway, I'm just trying to be funny here. So obviously, Fiona and Siu Wei, you will have to, make sure you label this correctly. Is it patient, or is it hospitals, or is it pharmacies, or is it what else? Clinics, okay, psychiatric clinics, and so on. Whatever it is, All right. So I'm just trying to be funny there. Just trying to have some fun there. So this is what I mean by when you put a chart or when you put a graph, make your comments there. All right. Don't just put a naked chart there without any comments, because it doesn't say anything. What does it say? So even if you have a 12-month analysis or 3-month analysis and you stick it inside there without a commentary, it doesn't show anything. We want to hear what your interpretation is. That's the most important thing. All right, Xue and Fiona? Okay, so that's where you have to interpret this. Now, the other point I want to also mention to you is, you don't have to put every graph that you have developed into the slides. Don't do that. Only take the most important things. Okay, like let me give you an example. For example, let's say you do an analysis of Lexapro. Lexapro is how old, by the way?
Got 15. 15
years. Okay. So let's say Fiona does a 10-year analysis of Lexapro. And then she does a 12-month analysis. And then she does a 6-month and a 3-month rolling analysis. Now, she doesn't need to put all those graphs inside there. So Fiona, what you can do is you can take the 12-month rolling analysis, which is the more relevant one, put it inside here and say, the 12-month rolling analysis shows that despite all the MCOs from March last year, the sales of Lexapro is still growing. Okay, and then you can make a comment about the 6-month and 3-month analysis, rolling analysis, and put it inside the slide for the 12-month rolling. You don't have to show the 6-month and 3-month. All right, you can say a 6-month rolling analysis shows that over the last 6 months, things have really started improving. And then you can say, but the 3-month rolling analysis shows that because of the government's flip-flop, sales have died. All right, so that's an example of how you put in the slides and put a story behind that. Got it, Fiona and Xue? That's how you simplify your life. Don't simply put slides and make the slide deck, 3 stories high. Don't do that. Okay, are we good? Can you show me an okay sign now? Whether digital or you want to show me a hand? Okay, good. All right, thank you. Oh, sorry, Xue, wrong sign. Enki also wrong sign. Checking and seeing whether you all are paying attention. Okay, so let's move on. So as I said just now, you can put a slide and right next to it, you can put comments, and then any other comments you want to talk about, customers, consumers, or patients, please put in a separate slide. Any other comments, any comment you want to, you can put inside here. For example, you can say, the number of psychiatrists in Malaysia has increased, by 20% over the last 2 years, for example. Okay, that's a comment you want to make. Okay, and most of them are practicing in government hospitals. 80% government hospitals, 20% in private hospitals, or let's say 17% in private hospitals and 3% in their own private clinics, for example. Something along those lines. Okay, if it is important. Anything not important, don't put inside there. Don't waste your time and just take up the space. Okay, so now next thing I want to show, this is something you may not have done before, but this is something which is new we are introducing. So I want you to tell me, Xue and Fiona, whether you have, okay, maybe not Fiona, because Fiona, this is the first plan you're doing, but Xue, have you done a marketing plan where you have shown a patient flow? A patient flow chart.
Patient flow chart means what?
Okay, so as you can see, have you seen a chart like this before? Or have you done a chart like this before?
Like what in front of me? No.
Yes, no. Okay, so this is what a patient flow chart says. Let's say in Malaysia, Resulti is for what indication, Xue?
There is two. One is schizophrenia. One is adjunctive treatment for depression.
Hey, Shui, I am always struggling to spell schizophrenia. Can you please tell me how do you spell that? Schizophrenia.
You can use short form
Yeah.
SZ. That everybody will know.
SZ, okay. Okay,
Uh,
SZ, okay. So schizophrenia and the other one is adjunct to what?
Adjunct to antidepressant, but you say adjunctive therapy.
Antidepressant.
Adjunctive therapy to depression.
Okay, so it's two indications, depression as well as schizophrenia. Okay, so in this case, for Resulti, you will need two of these patient flow charts because two different types of patients, correct? Am I right, Siwe? Okay, so let's take the easier one. When I say easier, that means I'm talking about smaller numbers. Schizophrenia. How many patients do you think in Malaysia, how many, let's say, new schizophrenia patients are there in Malaysia?
I cannot answer that. I never seen a report about how many new patients.
Any idea? What do your doctors tell you?
No, anybody can help this question. No, estimate how many new patients
Anyone
per
knows?
year, is it?
Yeah,
Per year?
per year, yes.
I remember doing something similar when I was presenting the business case. So what we did was we calculate the incident against the total population and according to the age group. So roughly we will know like at any one time how many patients we will have in the whole of Malaysia. And then out of that, how many we estimate will go to seek treatment and where. So then we go down from there.
Okay, hang on, Serena. So let me just get this right. So how many will seek treatment? And therefore, that's an important point. So a proportion of people will not seek treatment. Yeah? Okay, so that's good.
We have to justify the assumption where we get the data from.
Yeah. And how did you get this input, Serena?
Like the epi data, whichever source that we can find and get that percentage so that we can do a rough calculation.
Okay, got it.
The closest epidemiology data that we can find.
All right. And is this from government published information?
If let's say I cannot find anything from Malaysia publication, then I'll have to take like a global estimate.
Okay, all right, got it. Yeah. So that's an interesting point that Serena has brought up. Now, the other teaching thing I want to mention to both of you, Fiona and Sue, is when you don't have this kind of information, how can you find out? If let's say Serena says that, okay, that there is no, I think from what Serena is saying is there's no such data in Malaysia. All right. So Sue and Fiona, how can you try to find out for the Malaysian scenario? How can you do that?
If it's me, then probably I will ask the doctors, how many new patients in the hospital they see per month, and then roughly do the calculation for a year based on one, and then make a assumption, like most of the hospitals same size will have this about these numbers of patients, and then calculate.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Fiona, what do you think? Is that the right method, or do you have a different method of doing this?
No. Okay, so previously last time when I was in AZ, right, we were supposed to do like the patient journey. So my brand manager will actually check with my sales manager and also reps to kind of know like, for the area that we are covering, how many new patients that they see in a month, and then she will tally with the data that she gets from funneling patient, which I don't know how she gets the data from doing the funneling.
Oh, okay. I like that word that Fiona used, funneling. So what you are seeing here, Fiona, since this is the word that you are using, this is a funnel basically. It's kind of like a funnel. It's also called mapping your patients.
Yeah.
All right. Now, but the only thing I want to check with you, Fiona, how does your product manager know that the rep's info is correct?
Okay, so number one is she also goes out to meet the doctors, like few important doctors in different hospitals, different region. Another one is she just have to trust us lah.
Trust y'all, okay. Now, Sue, I don't know whether you trust the reps or not. but no, I'm not trying to question whether the reps are honest or not. But my only question is, sure, I mean, you can get input from reps, but you need to have different sources. Huh? And for me, the best source, as Serena said, is government information. If that doesn't exist, then the second best is from the doctors who are treating. Okay, because the doctors are the ones who are telling the reps anyway. So I would rather not get it from, you know, a down source, but from the top source itself. So I would go straight to the doctor. Okay, so sales managers, don't feel offended when I'm telling the product managers this, that you really can bypass the reps, you know, because at the end of the day, reps are just guessing. Doctor is also guessing, but then the rep is guessing based on several doctors. So product manager is better for you to get from a few doctors. Got it? Sue and Fiona? Okay. So this is where...
Can I add something, James?
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. I just remembered before when we were preparing for the Brintellix launch last time, we did like a survey just to get the certain numbers that we were looking for. So we sent out like some questions for the reps to also ask the doctors, and then at least they will have like a record of information rather than they roughly remember in their heads lah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Serena. That's great sharing. So I was just about to mention, Fiona and Sue, there are three ways that, is it three ways? Basically two ways that you can get this information. Survey, as Serena just mentioned. So you do a survey. That means either you send it out directly to the customers. You know, so Sue, Enki, Serena, and Doreen, you may remember that I think in 2016 or 2017, I did a survey. Remember, we got about 400, you know, respondents, and I was so impressed that, you know, the first time in my whole life in the pharmaceutical industry, I got, you know, a response rate of, I think it was 50 to 70%. My whole life, I never got that, you know. I told Kinsang, oh, this is nice, man. And then 2 years later, when we did it, went all the way to 20%. So maybe it was a survey fatigue, you know. And both Kinsang and I thought maybe the psychiatrists were so excited the first time because their whole life, nobody ever sent them a survey, you see. Lundbeck was the first one that sent them a survey, and they were so happy to answer. Then 2 years later, they felt, you know, same questions again. So yeah, so survey is one. And both Sue and Fiona, you can use Viva or Viva, right? The system you use now. From what Doreen, I remember you mentioned the last time, you can use that for conducting surveys. Is that correct, Doreen?
Yeah, we haven't explored that function yet.
Yeah, I haven't explored.
Seems,
yeah. It seems what?
It's available lah. I think lah.
Yeah, so I encourage you, Fiona and Sue, you know, if you have the doctor's email addresses, then, you know, you can do it yourself. Huh? You don't need to, you know, get the reps involved. Because if the reps involved, then like Serena says, it has to be paper-based form. They have to go and visit the doctor or call the doctor, and that's going to be very time-consuming. So when you blast out an email to your psychiatrist, almost within that same week, you can, you know, get the data very fast. So that's one very good way. Now, another way is by using...
sorry,
yes, sorry?
How about the existing data we have, like from the our IQVIA, IMS market share? Okay,
IMS, I don't know. Does IMS give you data on how many patients there are? No?
They give volume.
Oh, you are talking about that volume. Okay, I would hold on to that because of what Serena just mentioned. Because Serena mentioned that, you see, the IMS data will show those who are being treated or going for treatment. And that also is only pharmacological treatment. So that could be a group which I don't know whether it's true, you guys know more than me. Whether there is a group of schizo patients who are not on drugs, but undergoing non-drug therapy. Is that such thing? Is that non-drug therapy for schizo patients?
They go see Bobo.
Hardly, yeah.
Hardly, yeah.
Unless-
Okay. So even it is
Maybe
hardly,
Bobo.
yeah, probably. Yeah. So if it is hardly, then whatever IMS data shows is those who are undergoing treatment. But then Serena mentioned something just now. There is a group of people who are not being treated. So we need to include those guys as well.
At least a way to double check it, because if you calculate, then it's less than the one that's being treated. Then it's a bit weird, your number.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, you can use that as additional data for you to adjust if you need to adjust. All right, Shui and Fiona. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to mention is, besides survey, you can also use advisory panels. I don't know if I mentioned that to you all during the training, the first time we did. Advisory panels. Advisory panels are when you have about 6 people, and since you guys are so comfortable now doing virtual CMEs, you can have a virtual advisory panel. Get 6 people. I think I did mention it because I remember a comment that Kinsang made, which is that sometimes you got to be careful of the sensitivities of the advisory panel. If somebody finds out, White Buffalo is in the advisory panel, why not me? And if that's a big shot, you got to be careful how you maintain this relationship. So you can do advisory panels. You can have one advisory panel or a few. So you can have one for schizo, one for depression, one for whatever else that you all are treating. Alzheimer's, for example. So do that. When you have an advisory panel, you get 6 key opinion leaders and you ask them this question: Doc, tell me, how many new patients do you think there are for schizo in Malaysia? So Dr. A will tell you this figure, Dr. B will give you another figure, and whatever it is, you just average it out. That's it. So simple. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. At least you got some data which you are not plucking from the air. That's the most important thing. Because if you are ever questioned by regional, for example, or even head office, hey, how do you know these figures are correct? At least you can say this is what our key opinion leaders say, because Malaysia doesn't have the data. All right. So always have something to stand on when you are putting figures. Now, so is that clear, Shui and Fiona? How do you get this data? So Doreen has shared one way, which is from the IMS data. The other way is from the doctor's mouth itself, either through survey or through an advisory panel. So these are the ways that you can get information. So you still have time, Shui and Fiona. If you want to do survey or advisory panel, you still got time. Because we are only now in June, so you still got time to do this. And you don't have to make some fancy super duper survey or advisory panel. You just have a simple discussion. So advisory panel, you can have 3-4 questions. That's it, finished. Just do it over 1 hour, 2 hours. You want to do it on a weekend or you want to do it in the evenings, is up to you. Entirely up to you. All right, Fiona and Shui. And if you want any help on advisory panels, you can ask me. I have done a lot when I was in Sanofi and Astra, and I love doing advisory panels. Once you get a taste of it, it's just like CMEs. Once you get a taste of it, you like doing a lot of it over and over again because you get so much input. Shui and Fiona, how is that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the next thing I want to ask y'all. You can do it 2 ways. Either you can find out how many new patients a year, or you can ask the doctors how many patients in total for schizo. So 2 ways you can do it. Fiona and Shui, do you see where I'm coming from with this? Yeah. So if you are doing total number of schizo patients the whole country, then that is a number you are going to put in the blue box right at the top. All right. Now, based on what Serena said, there is one more box you got to put here, which is not treated. Because Serena said some schizos are not being treated, right? Some or many, I don't know. So you got to put that number there, because this is going to drive you to think, why aren't these people being treated? There could be a lot of reasons. Either no money, they may not even be aware that they are schizo. Hey, if they are not aware they are schizo, can we state that they are schizos?
Again, sorry?
Okay, so if let's say somebody has not been diagnosed as schizophrenic, but they are schizo, can we consider them as schizos?
Maybe they have some symptoms, but we cannot say that they are.
We can't say,
we can't,
unless they are
because
diagnosed.
I think, yeah, because if you officially diagnosed with schizophrenia, I think it affects quite numbers of things. For example, you basically consider, okay, you.
No, the reason why I'm asking this, Siwei and Fiona and rest of y'all, is because, you know, in the diabetic field, there is a segment of people who are considered as undiagnosed diabetics, but they are still considered diabetics, even though they're non-diagnosed. And this is what a lot of the diabetic specialists guess. Yeah, you know, we have in Malaysia 20% of the population diagnosed as diabetics, and then they say there is between 10 and 20% non-diagnosed diabetics. And what the companies which are involved in diabetic medications do is try to create, you know, plans to educate the undiagnosed. So that's why I was asking you all this question. Because if there is a group of undiagnosed schizos, then I'm not sure whether, you know, Siwei, one day you may want to come up with a plan on how to educate them and how to educate the caregivers or their loved ones, and, you know, tell them, maybe your loved one has got schizo if they display all these symptoms. Maybe you want to convince them to go and visit a psychiatrist. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from. So,
if
go ahead.
you was giving that example, of course, there is undiagnosed schizophrenia around in Malaysia.
So then, if that's the case, then you would have to make some kind of guess, Siwei, and put that box there also. So how many? Okay, so then you get the full picture, Siwei, rather than only partial picture. All right, Fiona, is this good? So what you should do is just apportion the patients. So right, the top box at the top is how many schizo patients, and then you put there how many are non-diagnosed or non-treated or whatever. I leave it to you, whatever box you want to use to put inside there. And then how many go to GPs? Does anyone go to GPs? Do GPs initiate treatment?
For schizo, may consider no lah.
No, okay. So that means if they don't go to GPs, then you can leave out the GP box. Take it away. Don't have to put a GP box. That means everybody is going to a specialist. All right. Now, if it's a specialist, how many are going to the specialists in private hospitals? How many to the specialists in the clinic? How many to specialists in the government hospital? Right. And so we are talking about 3 different areas that they are going for treatment. And this treatment is treatment that they are being initiated and follow up. Okay. And do any schizos go to pharmacies for their, you know, refilling of their prescription?
Yeah.
They do? Okay. So then put that amount inside as well. If nobody goes to pharmacies, take it out. All right, Siwei and Fiona. So what I'm trying to tell you is the number in the big blue box must equal to all the addition of all the bottom boxes. Okay, so now I want to ask Fiona and Siwei a question. Where would you put the patients who go to a private hospital and then after that they follow up in the pharmacy?
Private hospital?
Okay, Fiona, what did you say?
I say private hospital.
Siwei, what did you say?
Pharmacy.
Pharmacy, okay, right. So this is where it becomes tricky. So you got to decide, Fiona and Siwei. You got to decide those who follow up in pharmacy, just take it away from private hospital and put inside pharmacy. Don't put in both places. Put in either one. Wherever they follow up most of the time, put it inside there. Okay, so do the same with all the products, whether it's Brintellix or Resulti or Ebiza or even Lexapro. Make it as simple as possible. I don't want you to take an arrow from the private hospital and put into pharmacies. Not for this year. I don't want you to make this complex. Maybe next year we can think about it, but not this year. Since first time you're doing this, so let's move on. So next, so
I think Enki got something he wants to say, right?
who has got Enki? Yeah,
Hi,
go ahead,
James.
Enki.
So just now I'm looking whether got any like national survey for the number of patient, right? So
Mhm.
the Malaysia got the National Health and Mobility Survey. So maybe it's not very updated lah. This currently one is 2019. So example like depression, they got state around 500,000. So it's like 500,000. So if we want to find out how many new patients, then maybe we can compare to the last year one. So from there you can find how many new patients within 1 year. So it also got list out like what type of patient. So it's from this 500,000. So how many percent like B40, T40. So from there, it's more strategic or specific the marketing strategy we can make also, and also
Okay.
like race, gender, all this.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, Enki. So that's good input. By the way, that is the latest, Enki, the mobility study. There's nothing later than that. And probably in that report, they will also say how many percent has the increase in depression been over the last time that they did this. They are supposed to do one this year or next year as well. So that's a good source of information. Now, regarding whether T40, M40 or top 20, I would suggest, Fiona and Shuwei, don't go too in-depth into that, because then it becomes very confusing. What I would suggest is you can put it down in a slide somewhere and say that, okay, this is what the mobility study says in Malaysia, and you can put that under social, by the way, where you can say, a certain percentage is T40, T20, certain percentage is M40 and bottom 40, and just leave it at that. Because what you may show when you are doing this patient flow chart is that the bulk of the depressed patients are all going to government hospitals. And that will tie in with the fact that a huge number of the depressed patients are belonging to the bottom 40. So no money. So therefore they go to the government hospitals. So once again, this is where your narrative has to come in. Your story has to come in. Where you got to explain what this figure means and this figure. Okay, Fiona and Shuwei? So that's how you tell a story. You join all the information and create a logical story or convincing story.
So,
Enki, is that okay, Enki? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, and also James, I want to ask so like just now you mentioned the non-treated patients, right? So example, maybe we can do like public awareness talk or sharing about the what is the risk of the schizophrenia, all these things. So it's awareness. So from the company or the marketing view, how to count the ROI, or is that a specific allocation?
How to count the ROI? Yeah. So there's ever since advertising started, okay, there's always this question about how much of my money I spend is actually bringing in the sales. So even the same thing, Kin Sang would be asking the question. I spend half my money on sales reps, and then the other half of my money goes into CMEs, goes into sponsorships, goes into a lot of other stuff. How much is the ROI from each one of this? Very difficult.
Yeah.
To be honest, Enki, very difficult. You can't say that if I do one CME, I'm going to get $30 back in sales from that hospital. You really can't say, because it could be the advertisements you have done. It could be the sponsorship that you have done also. So that is something which really cannot come into any logical discussion. I know a lot of people have tried to do this and say that, yeah, if you do this, your sales will increase this much. How do you know? You can't measure. You really can't measure.
Yeah, so if something we can't measure, then we're not sure whether the outcome is good or not. Then we are not sure whether we want to continue or not also.
So therefore, I ask you this question, Enki. Since you brought this up, since there are a lot of people who are not diagnosed or not being treated, who don't want treatment for whatever reason, should we or should we not educate them? And if we educate, will there be any difference or not?
If my personal opinion is they should educate lah.
And what makes you say that, Enki? Where did you get this idea? Educating them may bring in some, sales.
If let's say after educate them, they will seek for treatment, then it will influence others, right? So every time if anyone nearby them, they are facing the same problem, then they will have someone to advise them and they will get the treatment earlier. So actually, indirectly, it will influence the whole market.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I mean, Enki. In a business, you got to do a lot of touch points with your audience, whether it's doctors, pharmacists, patients, caregivers, loved ones, that means spouses, children, even if you need to, whoever. So you got about 6 groups that you guys have to be communicating with.
Can I add something?
Yes, Doreen.
I think, yes, we need to do something, but if we were to do something, it's not just one-off. And whether we have the money to do it in the long term also.
Absolutely.
And I think this thing, and our government now is very good lah. They give money for them for public health to raise awareness. So let them do.
They give money for what, Doreen?
They give money to the public health to raise awareness on mental health.
Okay.
This year they give a lot of money actually, millions in the millions.
Yeah. So that's a good point that Doreen bringing up. How much money and how consistent you're going to be. Now, I asked Enki a question just now. How do you know this will work? Actually, it works because if you look at the number of diabetics in this country, one of the reasons why they are diagnosing more is because of educating the people. So we educated the people. I'm talking about the diabetic companies, together with the government. Educated the people, tell them, go for diagnosis, go for diagnosis, go for diagnosis. I mean, take your blood test. Just go and take a blood test. Just go and take a blood. And for years, they've been telling this. And that's why we find that the screening of diabetic patients now has gone up so much. The screening of, hypertensive patients. The screening of patients with high cholesterol. All this is because of public education. So it will work. Only question is, do you have the money and how long you want to continue? That's a question that the product managers will have to answer. Do you have enough or some money that you can put aside to capture those guys?
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right? Yeah, welcome, Enki. So, yep, I mean, anything that you use to communicate with patients, with their loved ones or whoever, will always bring in results, but it has to be long-term. Especially when you're talking about schizo and anything to do with mental health, because the stigma is so high. It's not like going to a clinic for blood tests, no big deal. But then you walk into a clinic which has got the sign there, mental health specialist or something like that. The guy will probably make sure he wears a mask, cover his eyes, and put a hood and walk in, because he doesn't want his neighbors to know it.
It's okay lah, James. Now it's a norm. Everybody also wear mask.
So now it should be okay,
Should destigmatize a bit.
Okay, so is that good? So let's move to the next slide. Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, I don't want this session to go, 3 hours or anything like that. Okay. So the next one is about your brand or your category. Here is where you show stuff like what's your market share, how big is the category growing over the last 5 years, if you have data. If it is a new segment, is Rizalti a new segment or is just a new brand in an old segment?
And new brand, I think, consider new brand.
Consider new brand, but the category has been existing before, right?
Yes, yes.
So, and you had competition before and all that. Okay, so it's a new brand. So what is your market share? Okay, you don't have market share because you launched this year, or was it last year?
Last year end.
Oh, last year end. Okay, so you got market share data. So you have market share data, so you can say, okay, in 6 months is our market share. So therefore, in a year, our market share could have been, whatever you can extrapolate, and then you can look at what is the category growth over the last whatever data you have. Okay, and then give your comments. Why is it growing? Why is schizophrenia growing in the first place? Is it because of better diagnosis? Is it because people are better educated, so less stigma, they go to the psychiatrist? Or is it something else? What's the reason why the category is good? So you got to give comments on that. So Fiona, same thing with your range as well. You got to give comments why it is growing or declining or stagnant or whatever it is. Got it? And also this is where you put your market share of your competitors. So you want to put a chart here, fine, you can put a chart, but then make sure you give comments as well. Is that clear, Xu Wei and Fiona? Is this straightforward?
Yes.
Give me a 2 thumbs up. Okay, I want to see who is creative. Yeah, beautiful, Xu Wei. You are giving 1 virtual, 1 physical. Great. Okay, so any questions about the brand or category? No? Okay, so move on. So sorry, just now I mentioned about brand and category. There is a separate one which is for your competition. So you don't put your competition data here. Put it in the next slide, which is competition. And what I would suggest, Xu Wei and Fiona, what I would suggest is you may want to put 1 slide of all your competitors, and better to do a pie chart. Do a pie chart of your biggest competitor. How many percent market share they have, and then the second one. So you show the whole one, but after you have shown your competition data of the pie chart, I would seriously recommend you take another slide of the competition and specifically of your number 1 competitor and another slide of your number 2 competitor, and then talk about them, like how many reps they have, who is their what is their growth rate over the last 5 years, if you have 5 years data, or 2 years if that's all you have. Do they have a dedicated rep, or are they using Zulik? And Zulik's reps have got 30 million products, so they can't focus. Stuff like that. So that's where you take a separate slide of your number 1 competitor and your number 2. If you got 10 competitors, don't do 10 slides of your competition, please, Fiona and Xu Wei. Nobody is interested. We are only interested in number 1 and number 2. That's it. And also, Xu Wei and Fiona, if the number 1 and number 2 competitor are very, very far behind, let's say the number 1 competitor has got 50% market share. Okay, and then the number 2 competitor has got 10% market share. Forget the number 2, don't even bother. Just focus on the number 1. Nobody wants to know. 50% and 10% is too big, The 10% is almost non-existent, actually. Don't bother. Don't waste your time, Is that good, Fiona and Xu Wei?
Yep.
Make life
Yep.
easier for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. We are here to make life easier for you.
Oh, okay.
All right. So that's everything about the situational analysis section of the marketing plan. Any questions before we move into the next section?